Alright guys, I got another thing I want to cover, and this is something I wanted to do not only for you guys but as well for myself, to kind of go back and hold myself accountable. I wanted to speak for just a few minutes about this Illinois trip and hopefully Ohio, kind of what my game plan is going into Illinois, my game plan, my strategy, kind of my expectations, what I would consider, what would have to happen to consider a successful trip. I'll keep the strategy pretty simple. On these types of trips, this is my third year out of state hunting public. I do have you know, some experience locally hunting public and even within Tennessee hunting public. But the one thing now that I really focus on is access and what you have to do to get into these spots. In Illinois specifically, I'm really going to try early on to key in to swamps and water, meaning I want to have to cross water, walk through a swamp, do something to get back into these places. That, in my experience, seems to keep some people out. I saw way less people sign in those types of spots. If I am relegated to hunting hardwoods and hardwood ridges and the type of places that you see a lot of people, the one thing I like to look for there is like a really steep hill right out of the truck. Because, you know, people are riding down the road trying to find somewhere to hunt. They look out the side of the truck window and see a steep hill. They're not going to say, hey, that looks good, let's go in there. Occasionally you'll see people climb it, you know, guys like me and you and whoever that's pretty serious about it. But it's not going to be the first place they check. So those are some things I really key in on. On these kind of trips, you might be able to plan out your first couple days, but if you try and plan further than that, you just don't know. And if you do try and make a plan and stick to it religiously, you're kind of selling yourself short. You can have an idea of where you want to start, the kind of stuff you want to you know, target going into it, but you kind of got to adapt and just adapt to the conditions as you go. You know what you're seeing. Maybe I get into those swamps and I'm not seeing the kind of deer I want to, or maybe I'm not seeing the quality of bucks that I want to. Maybe I have to go check in on some of the other hardwood spots that I scouted in the spring. So that's where I'm going to start. That may not be where I finish, who knows. As far as strategy specifically, always bedding is a focus. Like, I want that security cover, especially during the rut. It could even be somewhere that does are using for bedding. That works out really great in the rut. But if you get in that cover, I feel like you're more likely to get that all-day movement, to where you can maybe sit all day if the wind, you know, if the wind cooperates or whatever. So bedding's always a focus. Other than that, one thing I'm really going to be focusing on more is my access, as far as, you know, what I'm doing to get to my spots, where my wind's blowing, you know, as I'm walking in, or trying to, you know, keep my ground scent, you know, out from where I expect the deer to be. I've done that in the past, but it seems like when push come to shove, I just went, you know, didn't really consider my access too much. So we're going to try and focus on that some for sure. As far as expectations go, I expect to kill a deer. I mean, fully. Spending that much time, I fully expect to kill a deer. Now, as far as quality of deer, Pope and Young are better. You know, deer comes in first day, it's going to have to be something that I think's in those 130 something inch range, mid 130s type buck. No 2-year-olds, no matter what. That's kind of where I'm at. That presents a really good challenge for me. But I'm really anxious to see kind of what Illinois in general has to offer, as far as quality of bucks, how many of them, that sort of thing. So I'm excited to get after it and see what we can find. If you guys have any questions about strategy, tactics, anything like that going into this hunt, drop them in the comments below and I will try and get back with you on that. Well, I shut the camera off. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about and I totally forgot as I was doing that video. When I was talking about strategy and things I'm going to focus on, I mentioned access. Another thing that I've been super guilty of is when I'm scouting my way into a piece or trying to find somewhere to set up, I've been really bad in the past to walk through good sign looking for great sign. Sometimes I found it, sometimes I didn't. Sometimes the sign I walked through was the best sign in that area, and I've effectively blown the area up before I even sat in a tree. So this year I'm still going to be aggressive. That's just me in general. I want to have tons of confidence in each sit, but if I find good sign and it's in an area or the spot I expect it to be in, and I feel like it is possible that a good buck could be coming through there, I'm going to hunt it. So I'm going to throw a sit at that good sign. If I don't see anything or it doesn't work out, then push deeper. But I'm blowing through some of these areas a little too fast, and it's kind of that thing, you always want to see what's over the next ridge or what's in that next area that you have marked that you're working your way towards. You know, good sign, what you think at the time is good sign, it could actually be great sign for the area you're hunting. You just don't know. So some of these areas I'm going to stage my way in a little bit more, and I'm really going to hold myself accountable to that. So if you guys see me in a video talk about I'm finding this good sign but I'm going to push just a little bit deeper, call me out on it, because a lot of times I just throw caution to the wind when I get in these areas, and sometimes it works out, a lot of times it doesn't. So gonna try and be a little bit smarter with that. Obviously, as it gets later in the hunt, or later into the 2-week hunt, I haven't killed anything and I'm going into these new spots, I'm probably just gonna dive all the way in. One good tip too for what I was just talking about is, say you do walk a little bit too far. Me personally, and I think your best practice is to do not cross or walk through a trail, an area, a scrape, whatever you're set up on. Do not walk through that and put your ground scent to it. If you can help it, just don't walk too far and backtrack to where you want to set up. That's not good. Sometimes you can get away with it, especially during the rut, but that's a good practice. If you go a little too far, set up, you know, don't go back. And sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you do have to go back. If you do have to go back, make sure you can shoot to where you walk through. So if you got a deer coming in, before it gets to that point in which you walked, be able to shoot that. That'll help.